Food supply chains are an essential part of our infrastructure that ultimately deliver food from its sources to facilities where it is processed and packaged, distributed, and finally sold to its customers. Many people have overlooked the importance of food supply chains until recently, when we had to face food shortages earlier this year because of COVID-19. These supply chains exist so that you no longer have to go hunting and farming for the meat and crops you want, especially if you want products that need to be imported because they are not naturally occurring in your region. People have been combating the inevitable spoilage of food for thousands of years. Before more recent methods such as canning and refrigeration, people had devised methods such as smoking, salt curing, and pickling to create food that could be preserved after growing seasons and hunting seasons have ended. Methods like smoking and salt curing are both used to dehydrate meats, making it more difficult for bacteria to grow. Pickling fruits and vegetables in brine or vinegar is also effective because the pickling agent is too acidic for bacteria to rapidly grow. Canning creates an airtight seal that bacteria cannot grow inside. And refrigeration cools food to a temperature where bacteria are less likely to grow. Because food doesn't last too long before spoiling, businesses and average people don't purchase and stock any more than they can consume or sell. This leads to a generally high turnover rate with a first-in, first-out inventory system. Out of all the preservation methods mentioned on the previous slide, refrigeration is the most versatile form of preservation that also alters the food the least. Please follow the gray arrow and look at one of these refrigeration units mounted on a trailer. These units have built-in sensors that can detect changes to the internal temperature of the trailer so that the unit can shut off and conserve fuel when it does not need to run. Similar refrigeration equipment can be used for other methods of food transportation, but this is the one you are most likely to see in use during your everyday life. On the bottom of the slide, I have included from left to right images of refrigeration containers used for cargo planes, cargo ships, and freight trains. In the United States, the government agencies dictate the standards that businesses must meet when it comes to food safety and quality control. The United States Department of Agriculture is in charge of regulating non-game meats, poultry, and some egg products, as well as vaccines that can be given to animals. The Environmental Protection Agency must set limits on the amount of pesticides that can be added to crops. And the Food and Drug Administration is responsible for regulating everything else from bottled water, baby formula, and food additives. The preservation and quality control procedures are put in place to combat foodborne illnesses such as E. coli, Salmonella, Giardia, and many others. The CDC estimates that 48 million people get sick because of foodborne illnesses each year. Of those 48 million people who get sick, 128,000 are hospitalized and 3,000 people die. The best way to combat the spread of foodborne illnesses is to clean work surfaces and wash hands often, separate foods that can cross-contaminate other foods, cook foods to the right temperature that will safely kill bacteria, and keeping your food chilled at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and limiting the amount of time food spends in the temperature danger zone. This danger zone for bacteria growth is between 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. The four main methods of food transportation can be divided into two categories: international and domestic transportation. Cargo planes and cargo ships can travel internationally. The main differences between the two are the speed and cost of doing so. Traveling by air, as you can imagine, is much more expensive, but it is also much faster than going by water. The remaining two, tractor trailer and freight train, are the domestic methods of transporting food. It is not hard to imagine that the freight train is much better at going greater distances at a faster speed than the tractor-trailer. However, the train can only go where tracks have been placed, so trucks are best at carrying the food over shorter distances.
Logistics costs. Logistics costs has to do with all the expenses incurred when moving products, from sourcing raw materials to delivering customers' orders and everything in between. Back in 2008, logistics costs were around $250 billion, but recently, in 2017, companies and businesses spent over $1.5 trillion on logistics costs. The two major types of costs are shipping and storage expenses. Shipping and storage costs have to deal with materials arriving at your location, and you have to have a safe space to unload the truck or ship and store the goods or services in your warehouses and/or locations. Different types of transportation that are in the pictures are train, ship, airplane, truck, cars, and even people. For example, USPS offers three different types of services: retail ground, which is $7.50, priority mail, which is $13.50, and priority mail express, which is $26. This is for one package alone for one person. Imagine all the companies and businesses in the world shipping goods or products. Logistics cost is also known as an in-depth coordination operation involving people, supplies, and facilities. From receiving raw materials to combining all the raw materials in order to create a product or service, there are many items getting shipped back and forth from the two parties involved. A way to better suit and help this is to create a strong logistics cost management system that will save your business and company money. Being able to manage all the shipping costs effectively is key if you want to continue to grow your company. The more money you have to put into the company, the better the business will run and operate. When you are dealing with costs, you never want to get behind on schedule. This is why you have to keep your logistics costs under control and effectively manage the incoming orders and deliveries. Another way people go by it is all the expenditures undertaken making a good or service available to the public. This means that there are many details that go into making a product. Look at an iPhone. All of the little technology in the phone comes from companies all over the world. Apple, hopefully, has a strong logistics cost manager to keep them under budget.
In food supply chains, there are a variety of transportation methods, as previously discussed, and vary needs of each product when it comes to their general perishable nature. This is a concept that's further exemplified in regional supply chains that become limited when additional extraneous factors come into play. These factors can influence the cost or feasibility of any supply chain decision and are primary reasons why, for example, some fast food chains are only established along the West Coast, or why farms may be located close to the end consumer rather than simply near a shipping center. One of these factors presents itself when some products are far less shelf-stable than others. This applies to products such as milk that will only be good for a very short period of time, and for that reason their movement may be very limited in its distance from where it's manufactured. Or in the case of fresh beef, should the company not want to freeze it. The supply chain may become limited by even the length of available rail lines that are their only cost-effective and quick way of moving supply. There are additional issues when it comes to products that only grow regionally and have to be exported if it is intended that people in other countries can consume those products. That's no issue when it comes to chairs or mugs, but it's very difficult to get fresh blue Java bananas from Hawaii to New York without them spoiling and without having to resort to a prohibitively expensive shipping method. In other cases, the only way to access some areas of the world is by air, and instead of swallowing the high cost of this, most suppliers will simply limit the type and variety of what's delivered. In the case of a place like Greenland, where local food supplies are limited given the climate, the average cost of food relative to other costs of living will be very high, as will the variety of those foods. In the following slides, we're going to be using three companies or specific industries within the food supply chain that we feel pick up on the points discussed and help relate them to real-world examples of these concepts in motion. That could extend to how a certain company like McDonald's, which has over 80% of its stores franchised, still runs a unified supply chain, or, for example, how In-N-Out Burger keeps costs down and delivers a reasonably priced product while each store receives daily fresh meat deliveries, and how that means that every store has to be very close to a distribution center while the company fronts large logistical costs to maintain their commitment to food freshness.
In-N-Out Burger. For those of you who have not heard of In-N-Out, it is a regional American fast food restaurant located in the Southwest. With revenue of over $570 million in 2017, they will continue to grow these numbers. There are over 350 locations located in states such as California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Oregon, and Texas. Yes, all in the Southwest. The owner, Lindsay Snyder, chose not to franchise any of these locations. It has and will stay privately owned. She is the owner and president of the billion-dollar restaurant In-N-Out. Since In-N-Out does not require a wide variety of products, the supply chain is able to maintain control and provide the company with high-quality items. Every In-N-Out restaurant is within a 500-mile radius of the patty making and distribution centers. This allows their products to be delivered fresh every day compared to their competitors. Many competitors do not deliver fresh food daily. It is all frozen. The focus on the business model is the customers, the employees, then the growth of the business. Keeping the customers happy and satisfied allows them to continue gaining loyalty and revenue. Then, making sure the employees are satisfied with their part in the business while continuing to grow the business as a whole. The operating model is to control the quality of all the levels of the business. Having complete control over all the restaurant ensures that they will have control over how the supply chain operates.
McDonald's is one of the most well-known and largest fast food chains globally. Their brand is well known for having very low-cost food with exceptionally quick service. Just as the food is cheap and quick, though, the logistics system needs to be designed similarly, otherwise the whole system will lag on itself. To that effect, McDonald's has an exceptionally large logistics network designed with speed and cost in mind as the primary pillars. This is to achieve the result that orders can be delivered within hours of being placed, and that a factory doesn't make any more burger patties, for example, than what is currently needed by the system. Their system remains unique from that of others due to both its size and the fact that while so much of their operation is franchised out, they're able to keep all of it under a unified logistical system, as will be explained in the following slides. Continuing with our practical food-based logistical systems, McDonald's runs a large and highly decentralized network while trying to keep costs as low as possible and their responsiveness high. Food supplies to restock stores are exclusively transported via truck, and store distribution centers positioned in relative proximity to a number of stores inside the overall network. A computerized system keeps track of the individual inventory levels of each store, and a truck is dispatched when stock runs low or in some cases runs out. A distribution center is rarely more than a few hours' drive from a given store, so you take advantage of this by utilizing a level of just-in-time delivery for most products. It varies, but on average a store will take deliveries 2 to 3 times a week. The McDonald's system is impressive because the majority of McDonald's business operation has roughly 80% of their locations in the hands of franchisees. This should raise costs and create logistical hurdles that arise from having multiple small networks. Instead, McDonald's itself designs an encompassing logistical network whereby they facilitate delivery from the manufacturers and suppliers directly to the needed stores through regional distribution centers. In some cases, deliveries may even come straight from the factories if they are located close enough. They refer to this as their three-legged stool of logistics, with the parent company deriving some of their profit from selling the franchisees goods to resupply their stores in addition to franchise profit splitting. In order to efficientize their system as much as possible and charge singular dollars for some menu items, McDonald's maintains a transportation network that relies primarily on third-party logistical services in a given region. This effect is no clearer than is in their national markets, but domestically, it's a careful balance to keep costs low while ensuring rapid delivery of all needed products. This is the stage where their network of distribution centers comes in. Each one will stock both the fresh, frozen, and non-food items the store may need, and then through trucks operated by third-party logistics companies be delivered to the store. A shorter supply chain is meant to be quicker and more responsive to orders, and that's the reason why McDonald's has chosen to focus on primarily how quickly each store network can be restocked from distribution center. Over 200 centers are operated and positioned based on their close proximity to a given number of stores, and a sophisticated computerized system keeps track of precise inventories so as to reduce any overstocks or shortages. The key of this whole process is transparency, so that every stage is aware of how each other stage in the process is doing, and each can plan their operations accordingly to the overall needs rather than the individual needs. In this sense, the operation strategy of the business is aligned perfectly with the strict logistics system they follow.
in order to efficientize their system.
Grocery store supply chains. Supply chains for grocery stores follow a specific sequence to get to the end customer as fast, fresh, and safe as possible. Following the chart, grocery store supply chains start with farmed or natural resources. From there, these resources go to a food processing company. A food processing company takes raw goods and turns them into raw ingredients, or combines them with other ingredients to create a product. An example of this is turning cinnamon bark into cinnamon spice, or combining milk and other ingredients into ice cream. A food processor can include your favorite companies, and the three biggest in America are Pepsi, Tyson, and Nestle. All these companies turn raw goods into your favorite food and drinks such as soda, chicken nuggets, and chocolate. Once food products are made, processed, and ready to go, they are transported to distribution centers. A distribution center is a specialized warehouse facility that is designed to process orders and facilitate order fulfillment. A distribution center is designed to handle and store inventory for retailers, wholesalers, and in some cases, goods that are transported directly to the consumer. There are many different sections in these distribution centers, including refrigerated, frozen, and dry goods, as well as canned food sections. These distribution centers can hold an immense amount of variety and brands of product to better supply grocery stores and wholesalers. Some of America's largest distribution centers include Sysco Corporations and U.S. Foods. Based in Houston, Texas, Sysco Corporations is the largest wholesale distributor of groceries and food products in North America. In 2017, their revenue was over $55 billion, and Sysco has over 197 distribution facilities for food and owns approximately 22,384,000 square feet of distribution facilities. That's around 387 football fields dedicated to food storage. U.S. Foods is North America's second largest distributor of food. In 2017, their revenue reached $24 billion. Next in the supply chain of grocery stores is wholesale grocers. As compared to distribution centers, who purchase and sell entire pallets of the same product, wholesale grocers break these products up to fulfill orders for grocery stores. For example, a grocery store might only need 5 cases of orange juice to replenish their stock. On a pallet from Tropicana, there's 90. So the job of the wholesale grocer is to buy full pallets from the distribution center and then break them down to fill individual orders for grocery stores and other food industries across the U.S. This gives the opportunity for grocery stores to buy products without having to buy a whole pallet of it. There are many wholesale grocers across the U.S. America's largest wholesale grocer is C&S Wholesalers. C&S Wholesale Grocers is the largest privately held grocery wholesaler in the United States and the industry leader in supply chain innovation. Founded in 1918, they now serve more than 7,700 independent supermarket chains, grocery stores, and military bases and institutions with over 137,000 products. In 2018, their revenue topped $27 billion, and they employ over 15,000 people. C&S Grocers have multiple warehouses and office locations throughout the United States, uniquely positioned to serve retailers nationwide. They are the 10th largest privately held company in the United States. After all this, food products finally reach the grocery store. From farms to food processors and wholesalers and distribution centers, along with a lot of traveling, the food products finally reach the shelves. Some of America's largest grocery store chains include Kroger and Publix, but some popular ones here on Long Island include King Cullen, Meat Farms, Stop and Shop, and ShopRite. All these grocery stores depend on their supply chains to get their products there the fastest and freshest as possible for their customers and clients. Five to 10 years ago, that would be the end for the grocery store supply chain. A major innovation in supply chains today is the emergence of app-based food ordering and delivery services. This revolutionized the industry and expanded the market for grocery stores. These food ordering apps gives someone the ability to complete their full grocery order through an app, and have someone shop and deliver the food to your doorstep without stepping foot in the grocery store. Two of the main players in this field are Instacart and Shipt. They both provide same-day delivery for groceries across the whole U.S.
Future in food supply chain. Supply chain 4.0 is what many businesses will turn to. Supply chain 4.0 is the reorganization of supply chains in the sense that the design and planning, production, distribution, consumption, and reverse logistics using technologies are known as Industry 4.0. Dealing with advanced robotics and big data, Supply Chain 4.0 will be an advancement in the industry. It is set to be faster, more accurate, efficient, and flexible. The future with Supply Chain 4.0 will help companies reach new levels of effectiveness at the operation level. With everything going on in the world, especially COVID, our lives will never be the same. Our supply chains will continue to grow and be an advancement in our society to make our lives easier. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope you have a good break.